Hello, my little freaks and freakettes. My name is Crucimix. How's it going? Now that I've finally gotten my feet back on the ground, I think it's apropos. I think it's very fitting that I finally tell you guys what I was doing between September and November, because I kind of just disappeared. I know not too many of you are actually interested in the man behind Crucimix, but if you are, stick around. Back in September of 2022, I decided to take a little trip with my family out of country. I decided to go to Portugal, of all places, and it was an incredibly bizarre and interesting time. It was fun, because the drinking age there is a lot lower. So I basically spent about 2 weeks just plastered right off my ass, just walking down the streets of this foreign country with people who don't speak my language, just having no idea what's going on, enjoying every second. It was great. Eventually, right at the end of the trip, I was given the opportunity to go to a party hostel by myself. So here I am, picture this, Crucimix in a foreign country by himself, surrounded by Germans and various other people, just drinking like a fish. Now, there was a schedule for the night. At like 8 p.m. or whatever, they would give out free beer to fucking everyone, and after that, if you paid for this bar crawl, you would go out with everyone, and you'd get free beer, even more of it. You'd have a great time. No one ever made it to that. I think by the time the bar crawl actually happened, only 4 people wanted to go out, and I wasn't one of them, because at that free beer hour, I was drinking down the fucking funnel. I was slurping up every little bit of juice I could grab. Me and the only other American ended up like really plastered, befriending each other over the fact that we know what Bojangles is, the restaurant. Somehow that's what connects you in a foreign country. It just feels great to talk about something that only exists at home. So me and this guy are absolutely losing it by like 9 p.m. I mean, we were completely out of it, but we still decided, hey, we paid for the pub crawl, we're gonna try and get to it. So we start walking up this hill. The first bar is at the top of this hill. We made it maybe 1/3 before we left behind the group and decided to turn back. We couldn't make it, it was too far. Sadly for us though, we befriended a German girl, and the stereotypes are very accurate. This bitch could drink like a horse. It was insane. She saw that we came back and said, no, you're going up that hill, and physically forced us up this hill. We ended up making it through about half of the pub crawl before completely losing the Florida man, and then getting lost ourselves in the middle of Lisbon, just absolutely no idea where we were. We ended up just walking around completely lost until we came to this beautiful overlook where we could see almost the entire city. We stopped and had the kind of deep fake conversations, you know, the really like, you think it's nuanced but not at all because you're fucking drunk. You think there's some reality to what you're saying, some poeticism, but there's not even an ounce. Anyway, we ended up having this conversation for like an hour and a half till one of us was like, oh yeah, GPS, we could probably actually use that to get back to the hostel with our fucking luggage. So at around 11 p.m, me and this German girl start waddling back down this hill, eventually finding our way back to the place that we came from. At this point, the party had mostly settled down, so I parted ways with the German girl and then made a decision that would be very impactful for me. See, my flight was at like 9 in the morning, so my choice was either take a sleep, try and desperately wake up and actually make the flight, or stay up the entire night and just take an Uber at like 7 a.m. And I sleep like the dead whenever I'm drunk, so I knew there was no chance of that. My only choice was to stay awake as long as possible, so I sat myself on the couch in the middle of the main room of this hostel and just started chilling on my phone. Eventually, it shuffled down to just being me and one other person, trying to stay up as long as possible. See, this girl worked for the hostel, and she worked the night shift, so she had to stay up as physically long as she could. I'm just gonna come out and say it, guys, I'm never gonna beat the fake cell allegations. I didn't get my rocks off or anything, I'm still a virgin, but I definitely caught feels. Crucimix in love. Very sad. See, if you knew me personally, you'd know I have a weird autistic obsession with my Irish ancestry, and this girl just happened to be Irish. So for 7 straight hours, me and this girl desperately tried to keep each other awake by any means necessary. And eventually ended up like that conversation with the German girl where it was kind of fake deep, but it was 7 hours long, so at parts it felt kind of real to me. By the end, the conversation was kind of life-changing. I mean, everyone says that whenever you go to a foreign country, you get kind of new perspective on things, but this really did feel like a monumental moment for me. So at 6:30 in the morning, I call myself an Uber, say goodbye to this girl, didn't even get her number or her Instagram, either out of fear or because I knew I'd never see her again, not sure which, kind of a coward to be honest. Either way, I said goodbye to this girl and got into this car, and it started to really feel like a movie or something because the morning sun just barely lifted above the buildings enough to hang into the car's windows, which just felt like magic. It gave me enough energy to not only deal with an 8-hour flight, but JFK International Airport, which is, that's definitely a feat. There's too much going on there. I mean, that place is tiring whenever you're well rested. So I got home and I felt completely new. I felt refreshed, everything about me. I was time to really take a new lease on life. I was about to get started with everything again. Crucimix Crucifix was going to be going hard. I was going to start waking up and working out early. I was going to do everything right. It was the beginning of a new mindset for me, and then a week later, I did something a little spicy with my friends. See, my parents were going to be gone for a couple days, and my friend had just gotten a little something special. He got his hands on a special sticker sheet, one that makes a little bit of magic happen, and I decided, oh, okay, well, why not make my life really different? Why not make sure the high of going to Portugal doesn't dissipate and I continue on with this new grind set? Why not just improve further? So I did, and it actually had the exact intended effect. I mean, for a little bit I was kind of losing it, but towards the end I really started to understand something. It doesn't make that much sense, but it felt like incredibly impactful at the time, and the feeling of impact never dissipated despite it no longer making sense now that I'm normal. See, I had convinced myself that my chin had vanished because I made the horrible mistake of looking in the mirror, and that made me a little sad for a while, but I ended up kind of forgetting it for a bit. Until I opened my phone to record my thoughts just so that I'd remember things after the fact. I started recording myself, and I noticed, hey, if I angle my phone above my head, I can actually see my chin. My chin's back, it didn't disappear at all. And so the acid made that feel like a very poetic thing. I was like, holy shit, if I just keep looking up, it's just like real life. If I keep looking up, I get to have a chin. My life is so much better. Never look down, dude. I ended up recording 20 minutes of myself, completely naked, repeating into the camera, don't stop looking up. Definitely one for the Crucifix OnlyFans someday. So at this point I was like, alright, well, I have my life-changing conversation, I tried acid, I'm good, I think I'm ready to tackle this new life, this new grind set. I was not ready. There were still two things that had to happen. See, a week after I tried acid, me and my friend decided to hang out and go shooting, because I had just gotten this new gun, I really wanted to try it out, and I can't really shoot in my own yard because there's people that live on every side of me. So I went over to his place, and we started shooting in his yard, because he had this big hill he could shoot into. It was great. He even had some tannerite to blow up, so it was just a grand old time. Plus, it was his property, we were shooting into a hill, it was completely safe and legal, it was fun. Until one of his neighbors who lived at the top of the hill through these woods started shooting at us. Yeah, you heard that right, they actually started shooting into his yard, which is actually right in front of a school, the part they were shooting at. They started shooting towards a school within like 30 feet of us. Now, I don't think they were trying to hit us by any means because they easily could have. We couldn't see them because they were through a thicket of trees and they could easily see us. I think they were just trying to spook us because we had the audacity to shoot in his own yard. So me and my friend were pretty spooked, but his dad was fucking pissed. Luckily for us though, they cut down the trees on this hill, so if anything like this happens again, they won't be able to resist our wrath, if you know what I mean. I mean, it was clearly just one person firing like a rifle at us, and if you did that while we could see you, you would not be able to last. You might get one of us, but there were three of us out there, and way more firearms. You would be gone. Now, I hear what you're saying. You're thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute, Crucifix, this is too much to happen all at once. A life-changing conversation, trying acid, and then getting shot at, that's just too many things. Well, it doesn't end there. Usually these things come in threes, but this time there was a fourth. And this one isn't really funny. There's no comedy to this. I can't really play this off as a laugh. I'm kind of just bummed. See, a week after we got shot at, I was a little shaken from that. My grandma was admitted to the hospital, and then 3 days after that, she passed away. So at this point, I dropped out of 3 out of my 4 classes just to focus on one to make sure I passed, because it was getting hard to do things. It felt like I had to completely reinvent the way I do things. I changed my life entirely. I stopped waking up at like 2 p.m. and going to bed at like 3 a.m. I now wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. I take ice-cold showers, and I stopped beating my dick like a chronic masturbator. I now have a workout routine, and I even regularly fast. But you see, this isn't really a grind set, it's more of a gaslight, because in my free time, I watch nothing but romance anime. I just needed to make doubly sure that I evolve and become a worse person simultaneously. So during that time of absence, that's basically all I was doing. I was losing my mind constantly and reinventing the way I think about things. It felt like at that point I had no other option. Too many things had happened to me, and the only way to cope with the events going on was to just utterly reinvent myself, to keep and maintain the glorious godsend that is my personality, and eradicate the laziness that had plagued me for so long. I've been an adult for nearly 2 years now, and until like November, I didn't really feel like it. I felt like the same lazy piece of shit who skipped 30 days in 1 semester of high school. That's actually a fact. I really did that. During my senior year after Corona, I just decided to skip so much school. And we only went to school like 2 2 days a week at that point, so I was skipping more than I was going. And that mindset didn't really leave me, it just took forever to get rid of, and it's still kinda there, just this desire to do as little as possible to succeed. Gifted kid syndrome, where flying by the seat of my pants and doing the bare minimum is all I cared about. I basically never went whole ass into anything until creating this YouTube channel, and even now I started to flake out about halfway through. I need to get back into it. I need to force myself to maintain this. Success is only as good as what I make it. In so many ways, it feels like achieving my dreams is limited only by my ambition. It feels like everyone who doesn't make it flakes out right before they're able to succeed. It feels like everything is just on the graph, just a little bit away, just barely touching your finger, and if you just dig in a little bit further, you might make it. The reality might be that my goals are unattainable, that this YouTube channel will never succeed, but I feel like I need to try. And if you, for some reason, feel like joining me on my journey, then why don't you go ahead and subscribe? We can do this together. You and me, we'll build each other up. It'll be a perfect parasocial relationship where I give you inspiration and you give me a higher subscriber count, so please do that. If you watch this much of my ramblings, thank you. I cannot express that enough. I'm really glad people like you out there exist, and you're really great. Anyway, my name is Crucimix on YouTube, and at Crucimix on Twitter if you want to check me out there. When I'm not here, I'm there. I always leave the DMs open just in case someone wants to send me something really fucked up. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Goodbye.